need a little bit of that at the moment with...
Wait. Didn't go live.
Oh, hang on. It didn't go live.
Okay, guys, sorry about the technical issues here. I'm with Luke Mathers, author of Hi, Morgan. How are you?
What are you doing, Morgs?
It hasn't gone live.
It says live on Facebook on my screen.
Me too.
Cool, go then.
Have a look on
So,
this.
sorry about that, guys.
No, technical issues, they're always good. It's actually one of the really cool things about being a stress expert. When things stuff up, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, jog on.
You just write them off.
For those who didn't hear the intro, I'm with author of Stress Teflon, Luke Mathers. Luke wrote the book about harnessing your stress into a productive strength. Now, Luke, tell us a little bit about how do you turn stress into a productive strength?
Well, I think the biggest one of it is just to change your perception of it. It's one of those things that everyone has been drilled into it, that stress is bad, stress is evil, stress is terrible. And we all have this belief that it's terrible. And it's kind of not. Without it, life's pretty boring. You think of some of the fun things you do, you know. You and I go surfing most mornings. Surf gets big. That's stressful, but it's super fun.
Yep.
Okay? Having kids, massively stressful, but you wouldn't live without them. Being married, fuck me, imagine being married to me. It'd be terrible.
But not my kids and wife, mate. They're perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that we have to learn to embrace it.
Yeah. Mate, let's get straight into COVID-19. Let's talk about what are some of the things that people should do, especially we've got our kids around us a lot more now too. So, you know, we don't want to be bringing that work pressure and that stress to the kids and we're all living in a small environment. What type of things can we do with our kids to reassure them that it's normal, don't be worried, encourage them to ask questions, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest one is set the example.
Yep.
You know, if you're running around with your hair on fire and you can tell you're stressed out and you're fidgety and you're doing all of these things that are showing that you're not handling it, they're not going to handle it either. So like everything with parenting, just doing the thing that's setting the tone and being the example for your kids is probably the easiest one. The other one I think we've done in our house. We love American sitcoms, unfortunately. And if anyone's ever watched The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon's roommate agreements, we actually did one of that for COVID-19. So we actually sat down and said, these are the things we're going to do and these are the things we aren't going to do. So we kind of did a roommate agreement with our family.
How'd that go?
Oh, shit house. None of us are doing the things we're meant to, but it was a good theory. It at least set some groundwork of what we should do and how it works. So.
Nice. Mate, I was on your website earlier today and you had a stress mindset survey.
Yeah. I probably should update that to put some COVID-19 stuff in there, shouldn't I? Because
there's a lot of shoulds we should do, mate. I'm not going to point fingers at
not judging.
Not going to judge. But mate, the first question you've got on that survey, and I think it's a great one, how much stress are you experiencing in your life right now? Like, why are you asking us that? I'm drowning in it is your fifth option or sixth option. So
yeah, I guess the big thing with that one, and if you cast your mind back to say November, if we had have done that survey in November, and we did that survey, and quite a lot of people were in those bottom couple, that's 4s and 5s, where they're either drowning in it or they were sort of right up to here. And all of that was last year before all of this. So if you imagine you've got a bucket that's the amount of stress you can handle, and that was already pretty full. And COVID-19 just turned into like a fire hose that's just spraying water into it willy-nilly. And the hassle with that is we're already up to the top and now it's just absolutely overflowing. So we've got to work out how to sort of get some perspective and how to sort of just calm down and learn how to deal with what our new normal is. Because this is a new normal. This is not changing any time in the next 2 weeks. It's something that we're going to be having to do for a long time. Mate,
how important is it to talk old brain, new brain here, and we talk about this is the new norm. This isn't going away. We might see it flatten out in 4-6 weeks, but that can spike back up again too if people suddenly go, oh, it's so great, let's go outside, let's all have parties and do what we do, because obviously that we're talking long term here when we talk about social isolation. So, mate, do you want to get back into let's talk about how the brain works. So why are we stressing so much and what can we do?
Well, one of the things that most of the things, like up to 70% of our life is done in habits.
Yep.
Right? Everything we do habitually. Imagine if you get in the car and all of a sudden, the steering wheel went the other way and you had to learn all new habits and stuff. It's really, really difficult. And our brain's not really equipped to do that. Our brain's equipped to sort of take the path of least resistance. And so what habits do is they say, okay, I've been here before. This is all about. Off we go down that road. We don't have to think about it. It's a path of least resistance. The hassle is all of our habits have changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to think of what your day looks like. And my day is completely different. There's all the little cues that you had is I'm going to do this at this time, and I'm going to have lunch at this time, and I'm going to do these things whenever. They're all going out the window. And so the hassle is we're having to learn new habits. And I think one of the things that you're going to do with that is you're going to learn habits that probably aren't real great unless you do it deliberately. So finding a way to do it deliberately, things like washing your hands. Oh shit, I've got to wash my hands all the time.
Yep.
Now I just washing your hands and that's just what you do. I find the thing that's been freaking me out lately is watching TV. Are you watching, something on TV? It's not the news. It's something that's recorded ages ago. And people are hugging each other and touching each other. It's like, no, you're not allowed to do that. And it's kind of freaking me out a little bit. And it's just, those things are becoming ingrained in us a little while. And once they're more ingrained, everyone's a little bit calmer today than they were, say, 2 days ago. And once those things become habits, which they will become very quickly, like a friend of mine had to come in to help get all this set up today. She walked straight in the door. I stood there with a little spray squirter thing, washed her hands. We stayed 2 meters apart the whole time. And when she goes, we're going to do all the benches and all of that sort of stuff. You can stress out about that. And you can say, oh, no, I'm going to die if I don't do that. Or you can just say, well, this is what my new habit is. I'm just doing it. And it becomes almost a little bit pragmatic. I'm not stressing about this. It's just what I do.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that helps out a little bit. And the thing about that is that they become automatic and you're not having to then stress about it. You're not thinking, I've got to do this so I don't get virus and have a sneeze and kill grandma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just becomes your new normal. And I think as it becomes our new normal, I think it'll be a little bit easier. It won't take up quite as much of our brain because at the moment it's a dominant thought.
Absolutely.
When was the last conversation you had that didn't involve something within 5 minutes of COVID-19? It's a dominant thought for everyone.
It's a new modern day tiger, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, you sort of, you get, you think about our brains, and if I nerd out, I love evolutionary biology. I love the way, we've got the same stuff in us that cavemen had, 10,000 years ago. And there's a few things that have tweaked a little bit, with, all the different revolutions, the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, all of those. A few little parts of our brains have changed in that, but it's still basically the same thing. And we've got parts of our old brain is the bit that does all the emotions and all the reactions and it does all the fast stuff. But it's not real nuanced. It can't sort of say, COVID-19, it's not going to do the maths on it. It's just going to hear the amount of news you've been getting thrown at you, and it's just going to lift everything up, and everything's going to have stress involved with it. Whereas your new brain's the bit that can actually do the maths and do the logic and, okay, well, this is what I've got to do. But the hassle is that there's so much going on with the emotional part of our brain. We go into a thing I call an old brain shitstorm. And an old brain shitstorm is when something happens that triggers your old brain to say, look, fight or flight, something's going on here, you've got to pay attention. And that's what all fight or flight is. It's you got to pay attention. The hassle is we then go, oh, I've got knots in my stomach now. Shit, I've got knots in my stomach. It must be really bad. Gee, my hands are tensing up. I'm clenching my teeth. Fuck, this must be terrible. And it doesn't necessarily mean it is. But once you're in that old brain shitstorm, it spirals and it vortexes. And the hassle with that is then we end up just staying in that thing for way too long. We end up watching 4 hours of news, which is basically the same story told, 30 times. And we're marinating in stress hormones. And the repercussions of that are huge.
So, mate, we all have a good cook up now. We're home and marinating in stress hormones, like you just said. What can people do when those moments happen? I've got a Zoom call on, and all of a sudden, my 10-year-old thinks it's a great time to play footy, or the husband hasn't done what he's meant to do because you've got a bit of a family plan going because you've got meetings and that happening. What should people do? Like, give us a few tips that we should just sit back and go, okay, this is me right now.
I think the first one is to look at some of the things that we have to do and just turn them into your new normal as quickly as you can.
So what do you mean by that?
New normal, well, walk in the door. If I come in my car, I walk in the door that's just there. There's a bottle of spray stuff there. I spray that and I wipe the door frame down.
So in the example forward of I'm about to go into some type of Zoom meeting and my 10-year-old wants to play footy, just stay on the Zoom call and play footy at the same time. Is that what you're saying?
Well, probably it depends on who the Zoom calls to, but that sort of stuff. Everyone's in the same boat with that.
For live sport.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's only live sport you're going to get. But everyone's in the same boat with that. Everyone's got kids walking around. You know, I've been on Zoom calls and, you know, really important ones, and all of a sudden my dog's scratching at the door because it doesn't like to miss out on anything and it wants to come in. And everyone understands that it's what's happening, and it's
not the end of the world, is what you're saying. Don't treat it
it's not the end of the world. There's a bit of perspective going on with that, but you just got to say, oh, this is, yeah. There's a cat walking across your keyboard, so things went haywire. It's just one of those things that happen. You know, you can't lose your gasket over that.
Okay, what's another thing we can do in those circumstances, mate, to make us feel good in that stress Teflon method?
One of the blogs I wrote last week and sent out to the people that subscribe to my newsletter was about limiting your amount of news intake. All right. 24-hour news. I don't know if you remember, but September 11, any of us old enough to remember 10/11. Remember waking up early that morning, the news was on, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, there's planes bombed into that. The world's never going to be the same again." And it was awful. And for probably 2 weeks, I don't think anyone watched anything else.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It was like constantly, who's this Osama bin Laden? I've never heard of him before.
Yep.
And all of that sort of stuff. And we got bombarded with all of that. And it just became wow, it's all anyone talked about. And COVID-19 is a little bit different to that in that we didn't really get affected by September 11th. No one bombed Australia. We had to, take our deodorants out of the bag when we go to airports and a few things like that are just annoyances. But it didn't really massively affect our life. This thing is, you own a restaurant, it's affected your life. You own a bar, it's affected your life. You sell body science supplements, it's affecting your life. It's something that's really a constant thing that we've got to work out how to get around it. And when you're doing that, you've constantly got that sympathetic nervous system, which is the automatic part of your body that reacts to whatever's going on. All right. If I tell you, Greg, I really, really want you to increase your heart rate and I want you to blush right now. All right. You can't do it. You can increase your heart rate by doing something else. You go for a run or something like that.
Absolutely, yep.
But there's a lot of automatic things that go on in our body. And one of the biggest ones, there's two systems. There's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And they're kind of like
those to the dumbasses out there like myself.
Yeah. One's the thing that fires you up. One's the accelerator and one's the brakes.
Okay. Which one's accelerating me?
The accelerator is your sympathetic nervous system, and it's the thing that says, okay, there's a tiger over there. Because remember, we're only cavemen. We're 10,000-year-old cavemen living in a complete environment that's completely not made for what we are. Mm-hmm. There's a tiger over there. Okay, let's make a heartbeat go. If you have a tiger over there and you got to run away, you want your heartbeat. You want your heartbeat as fast as it can to pump blood everywhere.
Yep.
Right. So it's your cortisol is and your adrenaline are both going to spike. They're the two stars you show in your stress hormones. Both of those are going to spike. Heart rate's going to go off. You're going to breathe deeper because you're going to want to get some oxygen in there. Your liver's going to dump a whole bunch of sugar into the system. All right. You want to run away from a tiger. You want to do any of that sort of stuff. You need some sugar in your system. So your liver dumps a whole bunch of sugar into your system. And you also prioritize things. And this is the really, really important thing about cortisol, is that cortisol is a prioritizing hormone. It prioritizes all the things that help you run and get away from tigers, right? But it also turns off the things that you don't need to run and get away from tigers.
Gotcha, okay.
All right, so if you have to think about it, you don't need your digestive system to work if you're running away from a tiger.
You don't need to lose weight.
You don't need to lose weight. No, you definitely don't. So you don't need your reproductive system to work. No one's getting horny when they're marinating in stress hormones.
Do you need toilet paper during this time?
You do. Well, often you do. So there's lots of things that go on, but one of the biggest ones when you put it in context with COVID-19 is the other thing you don't need when you're running away from a tiger is your immune system.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if you get a cold if you're running away from a tiger. The tiger doesn't give a shit. He's going to eat you whether you're snotty or not. All right. So what happens is we're marinating these stress hormones. We're in a constant state of putting the accelerator down. We're in a constant state of fight or flight because we're watching 8 hours of news a day and everything's just revving us up. Our wife's driving us crazy. The kids are running in while you're in a Zoom call. And all of those things that are causing stress are actually causing our immune system to come offline because we don't need that when we're running away from tigers.
And viruses love a sick immune system.
They do. Exactly. Like and this is an amazing virus in terms of the wide range of different effects it has on people. Some people are in ICU, they've got massive amounts of pneumonia, they're terrible. Other people get a little bit of a cough and barely even know it. Which is one of the really scary things about it is there's so many people that are walking around with it that have no idea that they have it. Because it's not that bad.
Thankfully, the government's put some things in place to slow that down. So that's
so that's a scary part of it. But
mate, what have you done today to keep? I mean, you're not an overly stressed person. In fact, we often poke sticks at you to see if we can stress you.
Oh, you did a little bit. Being mates with you always helps.
You've always had, lots of corporate work going, lots of things happening. That's stopped. You're at home with your wife. You're at home with your young daughter. She's not seeing the boyfriend, so there's an anxiousness there, or an inbuilt one because of that age. And, their whole lives are around each other. Yep. What are you doing each day to practice stress Teflon?
All the usual things that I would have done anyway. Like I wake up first thing in the morning, have a shred.
Yeah, we love it.
I have to pump the product. Do I have to pump the product?
Mate, we can pump product all day long because
have a shred first in the morning because that's like the best thing ever, and I love it.
You get nootropics there, don't you? That's what it's about for you.
Yeah, it's all about the brain.
Yeah.
I then jump on you can see the bike behind me. I jump on that for half an hour no matter what. I always read when I'm on that. So when I'm on that, I'm learning.
Fiction or knowledge? What type of reading are you doing?
Knowledge. Always in the morning, knowledge. Fiction to go to sleep, knowledge to wake up.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Because you have things called diurnal variations in your cortisol level, which is basically the way your cortisol level changes during the day. I can probably actually even show you something with that.
Something we prepared earlier.
Here's something we prepared earlier, yeah.
This was a professional place. We'd have background music now and something good happening.
Yeah, exactly. So if I do this.
Oh, there we go.
If we have a look at that, that's your diurnal variation on cortisol. And you'll notice that from 3 to 6 to 9 in the morning, your cortisol levels are through the roof. They're really, really high. Okay. And you need that. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't get out of bed.
Yeah, you got no reason to move.
You have no reason to move. Your cortisol and your adrenaline fire up so you get out of bed. All right. The hassle is we wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go, oh, let's turn on the Today Show and let's watch 4 hours of how bad COVID-19 is. And we've got already a massive spike in there, and then we're throwing it even higher. So we're setting our sort of set point of where our stress level is way higher for the day than what it needs to.
Yep.
And what that's doing, it's setting us up to having a really stressful day. All right. So you'll notice I've got a little red thing in there saying the news hour. Yep. What I've been trying to recommend to all of my clients and the people I've been talking to is to try and turn that news hour into something after lunch. All right, okay. Have an hour after lunch, get all your up-to-dates, do all of that sort of thing. Follow some of the websites on the Australian government one because they're not going to over-sensationalise stuff.
Yep.
Learn everything you need to know, but compact it all into one of the people in my thought leaders group calls that the worry hour. So I'm going to take all of my worry and just put it into that hour.
Okay, nice. That's right. Good tool.
And so the beauty of having a worry hour is when those thoughts come into your head, and they're going to come into your head. It's how you react to them. It's the most important thing. But if you can condense them and say, okay, I'm going to deal with them between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it then frees the brain up because your brain's only got a certain amount that it can do. And if half of it's being taken up by a dominant thought of COVID-19, then you don't have room to think about everything else.
So all those people working from home that have news on all day or have the radio going with all the updates, announcements, they should be looking for alternatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I get horrified by my wife Karen is Irish, and in Ireland they love talkback radio. They have talkback radio on in the background all the time.
Yep.
All right. These people sensationalize everything. Everything's terrible. Everyone's dying. Everything's horrendous. So they're sitting there, and the thing in the background, it's just meant to be the ambient noise and stuff. It's just rising up pushing down on that accelerator and revving up that sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
So, finding out what things are actually revving us up and then working out how to turn them off and then how to deliberately put the other things that are going to bring it down. You talked about morning routines, and I read on the bike and I do an hour of that. And then I do a thing called Pathways to Calm. And I lie down here and I put my feet up on the couch behind me. And so my back's flat on the ground. And I put a mind awareness. I can't say meditation. It just sounds too wanky.
Not a meditator. I'll just let everyone know that right now.
I know I actually do love meditating. I just can't say that I love it because it just sounds too hippie and wanky, and it's just not me. But I do love it. And one of the things I talk about in the book is the thing called mind awareness. So I do mind awareness, and basically what I do is I lie on my back, I breathe in, so I feel my kidneys pushing into the ground, and I get aware of parts of my body, which is one of the things you do in meditation anyway. And I do that for 15 minutes, and what happens is, and
So that's after.
What's that?
That's straight after exercise.
That's straight after exercise. That's probably a whole nother one of these Facebook Lives that we might do another day to sort of work out how to build pathways to calm, because it's a
Let's do the next one on that. How about the next one we do is on that?
Yeah, we can do that for sure, because we actually want to do, no one's actually done the study on it, on whether exercise into meditation has a cumulative effect. And from looking at all the research and stuff like that, Mick Zelko, who's my co-author, and I both think that it's going to, if we do meditation after exercise, it's going to improve in a cumulative way. So it's going to do more than doing the sum of its parts.
And who's Mick? What's Mick all about?
Mick's got a PhD in cognitive neuroscience.
So he's got a fair call.
Yeah, he's a pretty smart dude. He dumbs everything down so I can understand it, and I try and make it so everyone else can understand.
He's a good man. He's good. So, Luke, we'll start to wrap up there. Your book, Stress Teflon, where do we get it again?
You can go to lukemathers.com.au. You can go to Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And if you send an email to luke@lukemathers.com.au, for the moment, I can send you a soft copy for free.
Perfect. For free, did you say?
For free.
Wow, that's a pretty good offer.
Look at us go.
Okay. Mate, so just wrapping up, to wrap a bit of body science around it, you've done a lot of talking to our crew here about stress management and that type of area in your career as a speaker, and team here love it. Like, we'll talk about some of the.
You've got a pretty good team in there, though. They're pretty easy to work with.
Yeah, you've got to surround yourself with good people. Talk about the tribe more next time. Mm-hmm. So if anyone's stressing, Luke, who do they ring? Do you know? And do you have any of that data? I didn't grab any of that now.
All the usuals, all your Beyond Blue, Lifeline, all of those sort of things are probably your first way to go. The first place to go is, I always have, I have an agreement with Mick. Mick and I actually have an agreement that if we're in an old brain shitstorm, like we talked about before, where my emotional part of my brain's, fuck, this is driving me crazy and I can't get out of it, I ring Mick and say to him, I'm in an old brain shitstorm, first sentence we say, and his cue to that is, okay, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to be your new brain. I'm going to be the smart part of your brain, and I'm going to listen to him. I trust him. I know he's always got my best interest at heart. I know he's not going to judge me. And whenever I'm in an old brain shitstorm, or if he's in one, he rings me, we kind of outsource our new brain to someone else. And that's a really cool thing if you can find the right person to do that.
It is, mate. The not judging thing is massive. Like, that's what.
Isn't it? And a lot of people aren't willing enough to be vulnerable to actually let that happen. But if you've got someone that you know and love and trust and that you can do that with, it's a really cool thing to do. And start it with, I'm in an old brain shitstorm.
Yep.
And what that does is the person then goes, okay, I'm here to help you. I'm gonna outsource my new brain to help you sort out what's going on with yours. And that's a really cool thing to have. And I'd have that conversation with someone. Find someone in your tribe that is that. Explain what it is and bring it up. Might be something we can expand on in the next one of these. Yeah,
definitely. So you've heard it first. Luke Mathers, Stress Teflon author. Thanks for coming on today, mate. Really appreciate you being part of the Body Science brand. Anybody wants to contact Luke, lukemathers.com.au. And mate, any Instagram or anything happening there that we need to know about?
Yes, there's finding.carlos, if you want a little bit of inspiration. We crowdsource information on that one. So anyone wants to put something on there, finding.carlos.
Finding.carlos, and that's an Insta account, is it?
Yeah, that's going to be another one of these. You're going to learn out what Finding Carlos is. You're going to love it. It's going to be great.
Be something to look at on the couch tonight, mate. So everyone stay safe.
Guys. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Look after grandma.
Let's get through this. The world will be there at the end of it. Game over.
Good. Thanks, mate.
Luke.